Uh, yeah, you get 45 days on your Mac only.
Yeah, 42, 45. And on the older ones, I still had a similar problem, about 40 some odd days, because audio would go bad. My mic, the actual audio, core audio D microphone input would start echoing. And I wouldn't even know it, of course. I'd be sitting on a call and somebody'd start cringing, and somebody would tell me, usually a couple of days in, "Hey man,
Usually a couple of days in, your audio's been shit for a couple of days, and then it says, "Oh, hey, let's have something."
like, oh well, gee, thanks. Check uptime. Oh, yep. All right, time to reboot."
Yeah, I mean, my reboot need is just driven by Linux kernel update, and that does not. I mean, I don't actually bounce for every single one. My other problem is I have NVIDIA card, and I'm on Gen 2, and so I get the Gen 2 binary kernel because I'm not building my own anymore. I get their binary kernel and it puts itself into boot properly, no big deal. That all works. But then if I get an NVIDIA driver update, that'll still, I could bounce the machine and my new NVIDIA driver would still work with the old kernel. That's not going to be a problem. But if I install the new NVIDIA driver while like my system is running, I noticed that weird stuff after a time, but not immediately, but after a time, Chrome starts drawing stuff poorly. And I don't know if it's because it's like now loaded mismatched binaries, because like the Gen 2, or I'm sorry, the NVIDIA stuff is, I think, a bunch of like libgl blah blah blahs, as well as this kernel module and things like this. I don't get any weird messages in dmessage or anything like that.
Are you getting like stuck screen artifacts or something?
Stuck screen artifacts, and then I get oddly the camera stops working properly, and then any of the like my background effect stops working. When I used to use the Zoom installed client, oh my gosh, if like that thing, I wouldn't even do anything and it would start having problems where it can't detect the right video environment. It's like, oh, your video card doesn't have support for the such and such. Listen, I'm not like running a 4090 or something like this. I think my card's like a M6000 or a P6000 or some silly thing like this. It's a quad output, card, and it's not designed for high performance gaming or anything. It's designed to drive 4 big displays with the same, output. Is it? Somewhere it's in here and it'll tell me.
So on you doing reboots because of kernel updates. Years ago, I talked to the K-Splice team at Oracle, and that little team, they were responsible for building tooling to allow you to do live kernel updates.
Yeah, there's this K-Exec magic sauce. And I've only done an experiment with K-Exec magic sauce, like inside of a VM, to just test that kind of stuff was a thing that could happen. It worked. Like, that was cool and very, very neat. And I was like, oh, holy crap, is that rad? If I was wanting to maintain like high performance service, I would absolutely do that. Yeah. On the desktop, though, I am unsure exactly how that would work, as well as having the NVIDIA driver update at the same time. Like, I trust the Linux kernel to handle it properly. I have zero trust in the NVIDIA driver being able to handle that properly. This is my thing I saw. It's easy enough to just bounce it. In Gen 2, you have to manually update everything. There's no auto update unless you scripted it, which I only did part of. And I get a little notice that says, hey, there's a bunch of updates now, and if you do an install, now it's more than 10 packages that need to get updated. You should take a look at this and maybe do something. Just a little automated tool set for myself here. And I go, oh, okay, cool. I'll do that. And you can always pick. So, Sunday, I got nothing going on, doing some paperwork in the office. Oh, now's a great time to install 32 new packages. And I got a driver update. cool. I can bounce the machine, you know.
The other reboot related thing that I saw, I talked to a team maybe 2 years ago, and I wish I could remember the name of their product. I have to go look around in my notes. They were working on tooling that would allow you to do a live application migration, so you could move it from machine to machine while the application is running. So basically you're just doing a memory snapshot of the running application and relaunching it somewhere else.
I don't know if they snapshot it, but like, you know,
well, I mean, the short version of what this team is doing.
KVM can do this. You know,
but that's doing it with another machine.
Yeah,
not an application. I could take your browser and your complete browser state, or your database and its complete in-memory state, and just continue it on another machine.
Wild. I don't know. KVM live migration is wild enough.
Yeah.
You in the screen here, you keep like moving. Do you have that auto center feature enabled or something?
Okay, so today has been weird. It's turned off in my camera, but Google has turned on some sort of auto center, so it started moving, and now the tracking is turned on in my camera suddenly. I was just looking at it and it was turned off. I was looking at it because Google kept moving me, and I was like, "Where is this coming from?" Right?
Yeah, you're like wiggling around in there.
All right, turn tracking off.
Oh, it's under effects now.
Yeah, well,
framing. They call it framing.
Framing. This is actually my camera itself, because my camera has it's an Instalink 360, and it's supposed to be able to track, but all its tracking does is conflict with everything else.
The computers are fighting each other. Love it.
Turn it off. Okay, that's the gesture. Okay, let's see. Can I turn it off? Will it stop?
Automatic raise hand. Lame.
Nope, it's still not off. Okay, it sees me. Okay, good. Now turn gesture tracking back off. Turn the auto tracking back off. Turn single tap tracking back off. All the other things that were off. But Google will still move me in the frame. So that's Google moving me in the frame. You see the camera's cut off because I'm at the corner, off the edge of my of my actual camera, and I can like move over here, and it does this weird artifact as I move off screen. And then eventually it will move me back. It's very strange. Very disconcerting when it started happening.
Well, it looks like it's sorted now. So today, according to our calendar, our little spreadsheet is talking about how to publish online.
Sure. How do you publish online?
Well, we're doing that right now. So this topic is like super meta, dude. Like super. But this is, so we talk about how to publish online a lot at Open Coffee. As you're aware, and then our fearless leader John also mentions a lot. You got to have a content strategy. And last week's Open Coffee, so this is like a relevant recent topic for me. But last week's Open Coffee, we had two guests who were both very confounded. Well, how do I even do this? Like, what do you mean publish online? What does that mean? What am I supposed to talk about? How am I supposed to get there? Yeah. And there's other things we want to talk about. One of the other ones was productivity. And that means Pomodoro in my head. And so let's set a little timer for 25 minutes and see how far we can get on this. So we talked about it a whole lot at Open Coffee. You got to publish online. You got to have a content strategy. Making content is so much easier in 2025 than it ever been before. And you can throw AI at it if you're into that, which I think for your early stage business trying to attract an audience, more authentic content would probably be a better choice. A real human doing a real thing. But that is maybe up in the air. It also says you should have some content strategy, like going after specific things and being able to set up an experiment to actually test. I'm going to make a content about making content, and that's going to get me in number of new visitors and will result in maybe some dollars, right? There is, I feel like, a fundamental problem of knowing how to form a good experiment, you know, but basically you got to have a time box on the thing. It's going to do we're going to have some magic in 3 weeks, and you got to put some kind of metric in there that you're going to be able to measure. You know, a lot of this, I'll publish something and then I'll get more visitors. Well, you can't fail that. You can't not pass that bar if the bar is whatever I feel like it's going to be in the future. You know, you're supposed to put your hypothesis together first. I'm going to publish online. I'm going to make 6 articles. I'm going to follow them up with blah, blah, blah. And then in 3 weeks, my subscriber count will have tripled and my contact form will be blowing up on my website, and I'll have conversations with 2 qualified leads. Put those metrics in there, and that's what you can have in your strategy. But then also, folks get stuck with, well, where do I even start? And now putting an experiment on top of where do I even start? You know,
yep.
It's 300% problem this thing already. Like, oh, I'm already overwhelmed. Well, guess what? There's actually twice as much work that you have to do.
I have to be the expert in the thing that I'm trying to do, sell, provide,
my main purpose idea.
I need to then figure out how it aligns to a customer base, how to talk about it in a way that focuses it to that customer base. And then I've still got to figure out how to like publish it, where to publish it.
Well, I got to find some tooling. Am I going to use Google Meet to record like our low budget stuff?
Yep.
Or maybe next week we could show off, we can do this through Talk Studio, which is this other tool I have for like doing a live stream, and it gives you some features. We'll kick the tires on it. You need that. How do I publish online? I ran into a big problem recently. I think I talked about it 2 or 3 things ago. I was trying to get my Apple account going.
Right.
My email was blocked. We can't send a text message to your phone number at this time. Blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, maybe they're just having a hiccup. That happens, you know, even to folks like Apple, whatever. So I go and I try it. I waited 2 weeks. I tried it again. It's still not working. Well, I'm really eager now because of our whole let's publish online mechanism. I need to get on Apple so we can do these audios and drop the audios up for the podcast part of the thing. Well, I can't do that without the Apple account. And it wasn't just make an Apple account. Join an Apple account. Then you need to join Apple Podcast Connect. That's the publishing side of it. But you can't join Apple Podcast Connect until you just go and get your Apple account enabled in just podcast.apple.com. And so I struggled to get my Apple account. I had to get their support online. Dude called me up on the phone and was like, oh yeah, I'm like, I can't get my email in. This time it sent me the 6-digit confirm your email. I plugged it. It sent me the text message. I plugged it in. Then it says, hey, this phone number can't be verified at this time. I was like, what the crap? You know, okay, who knows? Then I called the support. Well, got on the chat support. Blah, blah, blah. I'm having this problem. Oh, and you're a company. Yes, I'm a company. Let me redirect you to somebody else. You know, not only do you have to become the expert in the new thing, but now this should be 4-minute process turned into roughly an hour's worth of chatting with the people. I mean, you can still kind of do half of another job, but not anything serious. I can organize the notes on my desk. I can drag files around and organize stuff. Oh, I can scan some emails and delete shit. But I'm not doing any serious work because I'm on the phone. I'm on this chat. Boop, boop. Oh, let me just check that for you. Sweet. But am I going to twiddle my thumbs for 4 minutes while they're looking something up? No, I got to blah, blah, blah. So then I'm on the phone with the fella. Oh, I've authorized your email. I said, bro, there's no problem with my email. It's the phone number. This time it goes through. Now it sent me like the 4th text. After he fiddled something, he sent me the 4th text. And then I plugged in the number. And then it said, your phone number cannot be verified at this time. And I was like, bro, I got the same error message. And he goes, could you just like sign out and sign back in? I was like, I don't think it created my account. But sure enough, signed out, signed back in. Then it was like, oh, we got to confirm your phone number again. I was like, 9th time's a charm, you know, and then I plugged it in and I plugged in the 6-digit code. Cool. So now my Apple account's good. Then I'm like, oh, let me go create a podcast connect. It says, hey, your account's not enabled. You got to verify your something or other. And it just routes you to your general Apple profile, not to the, oh, you need to go to the podcast thing, this facet of your Apple account. And because when you wanted to join podcasts, it said, oh, hey, let me verify your phone number again. All right, cool. Brrr, done that. Then I went, oh, podcast connect. Then I can connect. Let me verify your phone number again. Okay, cool. 12th time's the charm. Now it's all dialed in, right? But there was some 300% problem. I just want to publish online and let me just muck about with all of that nonsense. But it's done, so that's cool. The other part of publishing online, I didn't have to do anything for, right? Because I sort of hand out a strategy that was told to me by someone who was much smarter. They called it Posse. Publish on your own site, syndicate everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is a similar attempt to what we're doing with this mechanism. We do the recording and create the content, and then we move it around in Google Drive so it's organized. Then we mess it around and get it uploaded to YouTube. Then we have the blog page about it. Then we go, and the plan is, but not 100% executed, is go to Blue Sky, Mastodon, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever else it is that you want to do, whatever else fits in your syndicate everywhere bucket. And I also sort of think that publish on your own site soon as you can, and then maybe the next day, Blue Sky. Maybe the next day you put it on.
Once you've got it on your site, now you can, publish it elsewhere. Try to include link backs, even if you're not targeting trying to link them back. If you give them the opportunity to link back.
What do you mean link back? I mean, the posting is just like, well, look, man.
Well, if you post the content, so for instance, my LinkedIn newsletter, I post the complete complete blog post / mailing list post. I put that completely in a LinkedIn newsletter post and share that around because it's in that 0-click category inside LinkedIn, and it gets better engagement and distribution within LinkedIn's platform. Inside the newsletter, I can link out to my website, out to my mailing list without penalty. But if I link outside of LinkedIn's platform inside a post, then it has a penalty. And it gets deprioritized in their various algorithms.
Are you sure about this?
Yes. Well, okay. I am not an expert in this,
okay,
but this is what the experts say. And I've seen it.
I read this on the internet, and it was confirmed by GPT.
if I post one day, I post it to my LinkedIn newsletter and do a share post for my LinkedIn newsletter, I will get 4 times as much traffic to that the next day if I post one, the same type of thing, but I post it the same sort of summary and link back to my website.
Okay, hold on. I'm a little confused, mostly because I'm not smart enough to follow. But you are going into your LinkedIn somewhere and doing a LinkedIn newsletter. That's the thing you have that's going for your profile on LinkedIn. I don't think I have that.
The thing that used to be called LinkedIn Pulse is now like LinkedIn Newsletter.
LinkedIn. Okay, so I don't have that, but I do
have to create one.
I can post.
You can create one. It's a little awkward, but you can create one.
All right. Well, I'm not going to do that, but you're doing that, and so you're putting your prime content. So I'm looking at this post right here. Is one in our noise machine.
Yep.
I got it posted to Edoshio's blog, and whoops. I got it posted there, which was this HA smash up, and it embeds our YouTube. So after making the content, step 1 was then upload it to YouTube, which takes a couple of minutes to do all of its processing. And so, let me just bust out too. It's not fully automated, so I made myself a little runbook. Record it in Google Meet, move the assets around, get the transcript out, have GPT do some shit to help us out. Try this. Here's the prompts I'm having it go through. Download the video, publish it to YouTube. So it looks like I've got these two, and I should change the orders. to download video and publish to YouTube, then do this stuff, because this will all go while the YouTube is getting it sorted out. So that's my run book. I don't have it fully automated. I follow these steps in my little notepad app. And then I tweet out about the thing, or Blue Sky in this case. And it's just, here's a very brief, and then the link to, and I link into the blog post. I link back to this, because that'll get them the YouTube. And I hope that that's good enough and that it counts my views. And if people want to see it properly, you know, the YouTube embed handles that. I do YouTube no cookie just to be a nice guy. But you're saying that in the LinkedIn universe, a link directly to the site like this, like if I took this link or whatever source it was, I went here and I went into my own LinkedIn and I said, create post, whoops, I'm cool. And then I'm just dojo.com/blog/foo, that this is going to be not that awesome.
And when they click that link, it will take them to another LinkedIn page that says, are you really sure you want to leave LinkedIn? Right?
Really?
When they click it. Yes.
Well, let's
and it will, and you won't even, it won't show your URL. It will show a LinkedIn internal URL.
Here's all my posts. Let me see if I have one. Nope. I can't even see what I'm saying. I don't post very frequently. Do not want
there's one right there. That one.
Oh, if you're interested in telling me stories about the cannabis, oh yeah. So that was me.
So it hides your website. You don't even get to see it. If you have to click it. And now it's going to take you. Oh, it took you through.
Well, this is an old thing we had.
Sometimes, or at least a lot of times, it will link you to. Of course, that is.
Well, he gave me this link. I didn't put in the link. Good short.
That's like a 4-year-old post, though, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's why. But a lot of times it will then link you to their little. Are you sure you want to leave LinkedIn? You know, type thing. So
let's bring this in here.
It builds.
Because that's what we had was this link to here, and the link was, I have some fun notes about blah blah blah. Posts. How do I make a new post in this MF? Back to my profile. Scroll through the noise.
So hard.
What do you want to talk about? Here's some notes on blah 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 with some hashtags, because I love hashtags. And then here's the link to this thing.
Yep.
See what this is going to do. You know, accurate as of right now. And then I hit post. That should be it. What?
Yeah.
I have to view all posts again.
Wait for it to show
it's
up.
Not there. Oh, well, here's view post down here. Cool. Let's view post. Some notes about blah with blah, 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 and other fun things. And then in the link turned into link.
Yeah, let's see if it runs through their wall.
No, it bounces me right out to my cool, trusted website.
Yeah, so at least it didn't run you through the wall. I still see the wall sometimes. I don't know if it's a per account or a per moment thing or what.
Maybe it's if like your domain is not known or well known or something like that. I do know that I have a profile on here. My profile talks about Idoshio, says I'm here. This is a, mostly verified company, in their thing. It looks like I should add a cover image and some other stuff, but, I guess maybe that's something else to do on your publishing online, is make sure all of your social profiles are tuned up nicely, with a nice image, right? My icon looks fuzzy. I have no background on this one. I don't have a banner image on my, what is this? Blue Sky. Threads. I got a Threads with, I don't have a banner, but my icon looks better. Like I've uploaded a better one. Who are the other places? Oh, Matt.
I've figured out Substack's thing, their system, because Substack has become a all things platform from what it originally was. It's gotten a little cumbersome. But I figured out how to get a proper like newsletter type thing set up. So I'm posting my newsletters there too, and they're not seeing very much engagement, but I'm doing nothing except posting them, right?
All this.
Yeah, because they're in all things to everyone. So
now, sorry, for publishing online, now you're adding Substack is also another thing that has to get into the list.
If your target audience aligns with it, then yeah. Although, because it's weird, like lots of things are in Substack now because as people abandon the Twitterverse, as creators abandon the Twitterverse, plus the abandoning of TikTok, a lot of different types of creators have wound up in Substack, and Substack's created features to support all of those different types of things, which makes it a really confusing platform. But it is what it is. It's another tool. It's another place.
All right. Well, let's try this. I guess
the original point here, though, always own it first, then syndicate it. Right? That way you can hopefully build enough traffic that identifies you as you and visits your original source over time. And as these things come and go, you control your website. Even if Substack decides, well, we just deleted your Substack blog or we've gone out of business, your copy still exists.
Oh, man, this email's already registered. Who is this asshole? It's me.
Who else is using my email address? Is that my cousin?
No, it's not. Oh, huh. Tell us about yourself. So now it says I don't have a thing. This doesn't make any sense. Like, why is my profile empty if I already have a thing?
Because they've added a bunch of new stuff that probably didn't exist at the time that you did it. So they're sending you through the
all right. Well, I'll just like put this handle is already taken.
Oh, yeah.
The handle. Well, I guess I'll be mucking about with Substack later, but
like 2 weeks before I was going through and doing my updated setup, and I had the same thing. I couldn't use David Raystrick because somebody else who's not even named David Raystrick is using David Raystrick.
Yeah, well, how do you see your profile? Like, I want to see.
And then the big confusing thing is once you get in there, if you like just post, then it posts to your profile, but you don't get the same feature sets as if you create I'm going to call it a newsletter, but I think they call it something else, like a stack or something. And then like I get a dedicated URL, like forfractionals.substack.com becomes my URL because that's my Substack. And that's a component. I can operate multiples of those as my user, which is what we'd expect. And then I can control all those separately and manage them separately and share to them and post to them separately. Versus the just going to substack.com, and if you just like post there, then that's more like a Facebook, Twitter type feed. Different thing. Which I probably should share my LinkedIn post. Actually, I probably should share my Substack posts back to that home feed because that might gain larger traction in a public forum.
All right. Okay, so now we have the different things. We've published on our own blog. We've sent some noise out on both Blue Sky and LinkedIn now. Although maybe I should have posted it on my page with not enough followers instead of under my individual. But maybe that's something about build your own personal brand, right? Don't be afraid to publish as yourself, but then also as your company.
Right. Which brand are you focusing on? You can do both, but you have to kind of figure out where your intent is.
LinkedIn makes me pick a lane, you know. For the other stuff, I just use Edocio. I don't have a personal rest of the brand. It's just edocio.com, and then I just have everything on the internet pointing to that to, you know, eventually to find me. So we also added threads. I don't know how much traffic there is, but perhaps something else that's a good point to make about this is when you're syndicating out to these things and you're early in your investigation of finding product market fit and all of that, probably should be making noise on every single one of those platforms until you find one where they are more relevant. You know, at Open Coffee, we make mention of a friend of mine. I guess it'll be okay to say his name, Jeremy. And he was a very diligent salesperson at the startup that I was involved with. And then he said, I want to do my own thing now, you know, make my own money. That's cool. And so he started with his noise machine, for lack of a better term, mostly on Facebook, because he had already identified, oh, there's already a lot of people making noise about this topic on Facebook. They're not talking. I'm searching. I'm diligently searching on these other platforms, and I'm not finding my fancy stuff. So what can I do? Oh, well, Facebook has it. So I will already start off. I'm leaning in over here.
Right.
And then started making activity in his content strategy, new posts, new this, make some stickers available, start hosting some events, see if people come to his events, right? One of the things we say for content strategy is don't jump out there and start telling everybody, oh, here's my solution. You got to pre-slice the bread. Boom, boom, boom. At this point, folks don't even know that sliced bread is possible, right? You've got to move them in that direction, and you can start off with just, well, I'm an expert in the problems with getting consistent slices of breads, and I can talk about this different way of doing it in this different way and different kinds of knives. You just
talk about making bread.
Talk about making bread. You talk
your
about
audience cares about making bread, not slicing bread.
You're trying to attract that bigger piece of the audience, right? So you mention all kinds of stuff, even just around the problem space you're working in.
Yes.
So that you can attract that bigger piece of audience and find who's leaning in, and then find out what words they use. Say, oh, why do these folks over here just keep saying, oh, well, I just ripped my bread apart. You're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, but now you know people talk about that, and now you can have some more content that you can talk about in the problem space of getting a consistently sized hunk of, you know, bread for your soup or your sandwich or whatever kind of thing. You know, what are you doing ripping hunks of bread? You can't make a sandwich with a hunk. You need to have a slice. And then 2 or 3 content items later, you're talking about, well, here's how to get a slice, here's how to make a slice, etc. You know, as you expand that content. So you should be on this. So Jeremy went out to do that, and he did do other experiments on other platforms, but just noticed that the feedback loop from Facebook was bigger. He was very diligent, I thought, more so than a lot of people I watch, about keeping track of the metrics. He posted, he sees the thing, and he goes, oh, well, I've made a bunch of noise, and today I have 7 followers. You know, and I have another spreadsheet, but I don't want to share it. So I would just say, like, I'll pretend right here, social metrics. And so what you do then is you take your different laws, and then you put them in here as your different metrics to, like, record for your thing. And I probably need a new column on the left to say, like, here's a date. Oops, it's the 7th. And you put this in there and you say, like, oh, my blue sky, I have 7. Maybe you have to have 2 columns. You know, you want to do your post count, you want to do your follower count, you know. Oh, that's our timer for Pomodoro. So we're at the 25-minute mark. So looks like we're going over. But I would go back in there and maybe check my follower count, Can I even see it here? Keeps telling me to, like, follow 5 people, but I have not found 5 interesting people on Threads yet. And maybe I would have
4 followers.
You know, so I would, on my nose machine, which one was that one just called? Mastodon? I was put a number 4. and maybe we make it really clear. Flowers, Mastodon flowers. Okay, we'll come back to it. You know, and then you just do this down the road, and you see like, oh, well, I've posted and I've done this other activity. You know, are my numbers going up? Because it could be you don't know where you want to talk about your new fancy thing, so you're on Substack and you're putting your posts on Substack. But it turns out nobody wants to talk about bread or sliced bread or hunks of bread. They don't put soup in a bread-shaped bowl, nothing. Okay, cool. And you should see a static number over time or a very low attraction. And then your other ones, they should be going. Like that was another thing, you know, Jeremy did was after he tried some other experiments for other socials, kept track of those metrics to see, well, where is that hotness coming from? Who is paying attention? Should I do this? And I think, you know, the last key point from content strategy is you also don't have to worry about what to talk about because ideas just showed up. I think we started off with like 10, and then we just kept thinking of silly stuff and then throwing it on the list as ideas came up. And, you know, it's not on here, but is MCP.
Oh, the model context protocol.
Model context.
Everybody's talking
about that because that's fun and popular, and you know it's way down here. So maybe we want to just all right, we'll move it up here because it's more fun. But maybe it'll be a Friday topic, and we can project out what we want to be able to do. And on like 7, 8, 9, we want to do Pomo, and then on 11, whoops. And then on 11, we want to do MCP. And then we still got all this other stuff that just comes up when we're BSing, you know, reboot time, you know, kernel module this, K-exec, like that'd be a fun nerd topic. So those ideas just for your startup, they always show up, right? I'll pick on OpenTHC for a second. Oh, I can't think of what to talk about. Fortunately, sometime this week, somebody in the cannabis space or one of the 20 some odd regulators will do something that we then get an opportunity. Oh, that's something I can talk for 30 minutes about. You know, there's lots of stuff that you, the entrepreneur, can talk about for 30 minutes. You're just not actively thinking about it right now. You know, throw your notes on a list and then start talking about them in whatever order feels good. You know, if you have no content strategy and you have no content, really step one is get some content going. Publish or perish, you know, fancier people say. And, you know, I guess that's all there is to it. And then actually follow through. You can see from our own list. Well, a bunch of them are on YouTube. I just haven't bothered to update this part yet.
Right.
And they're all on the blog because that's the first 2 steps of our thing, but I haven't updated the spreadsheet. I did one of them on Blue Sky, and we just did one of them on LinkedIn. So I should put in today's date here, 04-09, with a star symbol. That'll just confuse it. Substack, I went onto Substack. It looks like with Substack, somebody else is using my username, which the fun thing about having the registered username at Doshio for a lot of stuff, well, I like having my own name everywhere. But it's the company name, registered trademark. So sometimes if people are camping out on your username, you can send them a little note and say, hey, somebody's camping out on my username. Will you guys do something about it and let me have that username? And some places like WordPress will tell you, nope, sorry, those guys can say use your username on our site all over the place and say stuff and, you know, good luck. YouTube and Facebook were both, the first time I asked both of them, they were both very nice about it. Please submit this form, upload a piece of documentation. You can go and take a screenshot out of the test database, and that works good enough. And they're like, okay, cool, groovy. We'll wiggle something around for you. But I recently did another one into Facebook, and they said, nah, we don't really think those guys are, you know, in your space. But they are objectively in the cannabis space, and so are we. And it's like, oh man, they're, you know, they're not like making any kind of egregious misrepresentation or anything like that. But I thought Facebook in 2015 was going to be as nice about it as Facebook from 5 years before was, when I said, "Oh, somebody's using a no-show and I want to be a no-show."
Yeah, I was able to reclaim a GitHub account, that our organization that had been created, and it never had any public repos created. That was on GitHub. That was kind of their thing, is if it had never had any public repos created, they were potentially okay with redoing it. If it had private repos, then it wasn't a concern. So
that sort of makes sense, right? Because there's lots of people in the software universe that put supply chain dependencies on GitHub or NPM or these other things. I wrote this tool ages ago that would crawl all of the various social networks and sites and things like this that let you register a username so you could get this, very much like what Mark Monitor does. Oh, there's a new site. We're going to make sure that you can go and get the handle that you want all over the place on all the TMDs and things like this. Just go around. Mostly it was for me when I wanted to find a new username, but I can use it now to just, is my username available on other networks? Or I haven't added a new network to that list in a long time. I should go and find that site. Maybe I'll talk about it one time. Yeah, so that's the mechanics of it, right? Start off with a spreadsheet, put 10 things on it, make a schedule for when you're going to record them. Maybe it helps to have somebody else involved, so you've got a.
If you don't like talking to yourself on the camera,
right? I mean, fortunately I love that stuff. So for like OpenTHC, I got all these videos and it's just me yelling with a boring background. There's not even any visual aids, just me yelling. You gotta have a beer. If you're just talking to yourself on the internet, you gotta have a beverage, man. And so we had some little notes. We published on a thing. Always says whip because I didn't know what to do. Get it on YouTube if it's YouTubeable. Definitely get it on your own site, right? Critically important. And then my objective with the different socials is to trickle out the announcement across the different socials. Haven't done that there, but it really should be like recording is T0, and then T plus 48, you should be mentioning it on your favorite social network. And then another 48, and then another 48, and maybe following one of those like spaced repetition kind of things. Maybe that helps you identify when or how other sites are more active than others, right? Because you would maybe be running through a little sliding thing so that sometimes you're posting to threads on Tuesday and then a Wednesday and then a Thursday as you move through. But sort of just keep track of that. Keep track of your view counts. Find out if people are leaning into your idea. The thing that sucks about content strategy, and I guess this is my final thought, and then we can have you do a final thought, and then we'll be done. But, on content strategy, I see a lot of startup entrepreneurs and stuff. They don't want to do this part because this part is so very boring, and it does not feel like it's moving the needle. But you sit down and you write a bunch of code for your idea of how the product that you envision in your head should work. You can write code all day long, and you can have something nice and tangible, and you can take screenshots and you can show that off. And that feels like very good work. Making a blog post and then tweaking your little noise machine schedule, clicking through Apple Podcasts so you can try to get through the thing so you can finally get registered. That doesn't feel like the kind of work that the maker mindset enjoys. That's definitely manager stuff. Any final thoughts from your side?
But what it does is it gives you a perpetual thing that represents you as, or your product as this thing. Even long before you actually have a product, you can start building an audience. It can be a very small audience. Audience just means people who see it. But if you only need one buyer for your product, you only have to have an audience of one person that sees it as their solution. If you need 1,000, then you need 1,000. So you need to think about like what your target is. For my consulting products, I literally cannot have more than 4 or 5 sales a year because I can't scale. Now, if I have 8 or 15 sales coming in, that gives me choice, but I'm still only going to make 4. But if you're selling a product, if you're selling a bread slicer, then obviously you want to sell as many bread slices as you can produce. But the thing about producing content is it provides a very long tail around people being able to find it, see you, and the most important thing it does, especially as people, we create asymmetric intimacy. They see your post once, twice, 3 times, and now they're like, I know this person. So when they finally do reach out to you, they're going to feel like they know you very well. You know nothing about them. But that means that the sales cycle is completely reversed. When you go out to do sales, outbound sales, you have to build the relationship first, then land the sale. In this case, the relationship was built. They come to you, and now you just land the sale. That's what content does.
That's exactly what it does. Excellent. I guess, and that's it.
Awesome.
That's a wrap or cut or whatever they say.
It's a party. Wait.